Okay, we are going to talk about the train diagram, and I've expanded it a little more for staff and people like yourself who are discipling people, just to understand principles that are going at stake here. Generally, the young Christian has got to learn that God and His Word is the truth, just like we talked about in the committee truth diagram. His faith, or the coal, you might say, goes into the engine to fire the engine up, to make the engine really move and create action. So this is what our faith represents. The caboose represents feelings. It's just kind of tagging along, has no power of its own. It just tags along and that type of thing. Another car here we're going to title Circumstances. This may be all the baggage that we bring into our life, either good or bad. But I want to talk about how it is. Now, before a person becomes a Christian, which one of these cars do you think was true of the non-believer? Okay, you'll see that non-believers have feelings, they have circumstances, but they don't have faith, and they don't have God's Word or the truth for the most part. Just the Christians have these cars here. So you're talking about going from this perspective then to this perspective. So let's talk about how this works very simply. God and His Word is the truth. So I need to take my faith, and let me just underline here the word faith. Faith simply means trust. And the stronger you are as a Christian, the greater your trust is in following Christ. So you take your faith and you put it into God and His Word. And as you do that, the whole train, the Christian life, begins to move. And then we have this thing called feelings. And a lot of people are living for a good time. They just want to feel good. They want to have a high, okay? And a lot of Christians think they can get a high if, and then they fill in the blank. Well, with Christ, He really wants us to go this way rather than putting your trust in your feelings. Now, if you saw somebody shoveling coal into a caboose, what would you think? You'd think it's kind of stupid, right? Well, it would be. It wouldn't matter if you filled the whole caboose full of coal, or if we took our faith and put it into our feelings, it would produce really negative results. In fact, I think personally, if this happens, it produces this thing called mysticism. In other words, we are saying that feelings become our authority instead of letting Christ and God's Word become our authority. Okay, time out. Oh, I just did time out. Okay. I didn't know if you were still.
Yeah, but I just left you going.
Oh, okay.
I'll just edit it out.
Okay, ready to go in?
Going?
Yep.
Yep, just keep going.
Okay, time in again. So, in other words, the Christian has got to come to the conclusion that God and His Word, or the engine, is really the powerhouse that pulls the whole Christian life or the train, rather than our feelings. When someone thinks their feelings are their authority, that's where they go, in a sense, we begin to go downhill. So how does circumstances work into this? Well, it's kind of interesting. Let's suppose something like this happens. You have some really good circumstance happens to you. Let's suppose that Austin didn't even think about it, but he was just walking down the street and he found a lottery ticket. And it was for $1 million. Somebody had lost. So Austin goes down and he checks in and says, maybe they'll give me the $1 million. So he goes down there, and sure enough, they give him the $1 million. How do you think Austin might feel about getting $1 million like that? I dare say he would be pretty excited about it, right? He could buy 5 cars, maybe more. You know, he could do all kinds of things with $1 million. So his feelings basically are really high because he really had a good circumstance. Let's suppose this happens. He has a bad circumstance. He flunks 4 out of 5 classes in college, is one semester in college. He's really walking out of there just feeling bad because he had a bad circumstance. So in other words, your circumstances, if you make feelings the authority, then your circumstances can wag this tail of feelings backwards and forwards, where this person actually will begin to feel they're out of control. They don't know what's going to happen to them. They're just going for circumstances and feelings. And if a person becomes a young Christian, he might say this: man, I prayed, I needed money, and I found this $1 million. You know what? God, you are so good. Oh, something terrible happens here. Geez, I can't believe how bad I feel. God, where are you? Why didn't you save me from this? In other words, we're caught in this catch-22 of trying to make the transition from living like a non-believer to learning to live like a believer. And some people are so entrenched in this feeling idea here that they don't even realize the circumstances are playing games with their feelings. So as the young Christian gets started, that's why you really need to use God and His Word and show them how to apply their trust into this Word. So that's why as you go through the discipleship packet, you're going to see a lot of verses, but every verse goes back to this issue: can I trust God with what it's being said? And if you can help the Christian grasp this, then they have a chance to really, well, I'll put it this way. Here goes the train tracks. And I'm just going to say, hey, they are on their way to growth, getting strong as a Christian. If they don't make this transition, this ability to live their life by faith in God and His Word, chances are circumstances will wiggle them all through the rest of their life, and they will die basically going to heaven because Christ is not a liar, but they will have missed out on such a great life that they could have had down here on planet Earth. So that's the train diagram. And I want to draw one other feature to this diagram right now, just so you as staff can pick up on it. And I'll draw it like this. Okay, I'm dividing a division between these cars. This basically represents the car of the non-believer. That's their cars. It also represents people. If people allow circumstances to affect their feelings, and their feelings are their authority, then chances are futility is really going to be a part of their life. In other words, they're going to be spinning in their tracks their entire life. So futility, I would call these people the reactive people. They're reactive. They're reacting to the circumstances in their life. So there's virtually no purpose in this person's life except to go through the process. Over here, I would put this kind of situation where there's the believers, of course, over here. But the point is, can they have a purpose in life? See, the purpose, like, why did God make me? Well, how in the world are you going to figure out how God made me and why I'm here and where I'm going when I can't get out of this? I feel like I'm trapped here. Here is where purpose relates to freedom. Truly free to become all that God ever meant you to be. So, when you have purpose, you have you're active. In fact, I'd use the word proactive, which is a lifestyle, basically, because you're starting to see truth. Here's your faith, and as you grow, you'll be able to see how your purpose relates to freedom, how you become proactive in terms of this kind of thing. Accomplishment. I'll use the word growth here again, and the word fruit. And I'll go out on a big limb and basically say, if someone can't make the transition across this barrier here as a young Christian, they'll never see these kinds of things coming out of their life. One of the greatest fruits is the fruit of the Spirit. And you know, these things like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. Those are all internally coming out of us internally. Well, it comes because of this process only. All right? It's because Christ produces it inside of us. Over here, there's no way to see it produced. This is just humanistic, the way we are, allowing other things to take control. I might mention that everything over here on this side represents the religions of the world. Every religion in the world is trying to make someone feel right, have purpose, get their circumstances right, have some sort of spirituality, which is good because, in a sense, we're all spiritual, but only here with Christ is there anything actually realized as true and purposeful and actually has fruit. So that is the train diagram. Try to get it down. You'll use it hundreds of times, and you can vary it a little bit, like I've done, to go after the major point of that particular discussion.